Greetings and salutations, friends and gamers of all stripes. My name is GM Dave, and I am your man behind the screen. So a few days ago, Aaron the Pedantic, who has joined me now twice over on the Legion of Myth podcast, and whom I've very come to enjoy the content of, even if we don't always see eye to eye, though I think he and I see eye to eye more than he and some of the other guys do. Probably due to the fact that we're both the same age. Recently, he posted a video that I have been thinking about a lot because it's an interesting topic and he brings up an interesting point. That video deals with the idea of discussing the times we as game masters have screwed up. We've dropped the ball. We did something wrong. We made a mistake. And he brought up the idea that this is an important thing to discuss because a lot of channels like ours, where we do GM tips and player tips, game theorizing, and discussions on the hobby, which largely is my focus here, particularly tips and theorizing, we tend to focus a lot more on these are the things that you can do to be successful. These are what you can do that will help you move forward. These are what you can do to help you run a smoother game. And because we always talk about these ideas that are meant to help players and have proven time-tested and true many times over, it can create this illusion like we just know all the right answers, even when we don't. It can create this illusion like we've always got the perfect solution. We're always going to be able to run the perfect game because of that, even when that's not true. Because everybody has a learning curve. And it's important to discuss that. So, I'm going to make a follow-up video to his times I fucked up as a GM video. I don't remember if that was the exact title, but it was something along those lines. And in fact, I'm not just going to make up one. I'm going to do three. I'm going to talk about three specific instances in which I, as the game master, screwed up, and why I consider these instances to be screw-up. And today, we are starting with the most minor of these, and I'm going to go in escalation, in what, in my opinion, is an escalation of the least egregious to the most egregious mistakes that I've made. And this mistake is Tala the Mute. So Tala is an NPC character that I had made for a campaign I was running, probably 9 or 10 years ago now. The campaign, unfortunately, did not last very long because it was a time in not only my life, but the lives of my players where we were all living on very tumultuous schedules, save for only one or two of us. Myself in particular, my work schedule could fluctuate at any time. And ultimately, that's what ended up killing the campaign, was work schedule fluctuation. However, the campaign, while decently successful up to that point, had a few rocky moments because I was attempting something a bit bigger in scope than I usually did at that time. And, well, a few things didn't really work out. But Tala was the one thing that worked out worst of all. So, any one of us that's been playing in this hobby for long enough knows that there are a few ideas for characters and NPCs that will cross our minds that, in the moment, seem like, oh, that's a cool idea, yeah, I'm going to do that. What an interesting way to help this character stand out. What an interesting way to really make this character work and be cool. And, oh, this is going to be so unique, so different. In the case of Tala, that was, as mentioned, making her a mute. Now, Tala was an agent working for basically a crime syndicate, and that's what this game was focused on. It was a crime syndicate in a big city, and, how they had to deal with other syndicates, other organizations, and goings-on in the surrounding regions. The players were all various working members of this syndicate, or aspiring to become members of it. And Tala was meant to be a ranking member. She was, it was Pathfinder at the time, and I believe it was right around the time when they released the hybrid classes. It might have been even more than 10 years ago. God, I really don't remember. That's besides the point. And naturally, I wanted to have an NPC there that could play around with some of these hybrid classes. It was an easy excuse for me to just plop a character in alongside the players to just give them a little bit of help while letting me experiment with these new classes that Pathfinder had just come out with. And Tala's whole thing, though, was that she was supposed to have rank over the players. She was supposed to be a character with some pull, someone who could potentially, to the more roguish characters, become a little bit of a mentor-type figure. Someone that I wanted to feel important to the players, who I wanted them to build a connection with. And boy, let me tell you, where mutes as PCs don't work because the whole I can't talk issue becomes a major problem in most scenarios, when the character would have to stop and turn around and sign to somebody in a situation where they can't safely do so. A mute as an NPC, and you're gonna have a hell of a time getting your players to connect to a character like that. And I didn't think about that. So we played the first session where she really got involved with the party. And I don't really remember the exact details of what they were doing, but I remember I had them get sent down into the city aqueducts. I think there was an alchemist down there who had been screwing around with shit, and it was starting to cause problems for their organization. They had been willing to ignore the guy in the past because he'd been willing to accept some payoffs to do things to sabotage people they didn't particularly like, but now his antics were becoming a big problem. And Tala was going to join them to sort of lead this little expedition down into the sewers and get the players, the aqueducts, and get the players where they needed to go. Help to point them in the right direction anyway. And give them a little bit of aid in combat, because I was getting them set up against some enemies that were pretty tough for their level. So I figured, having another body in there is going to help. And I'd been having her interact with a couple of the PCs before then, and, they seemed to accept it okay. But I noticed that it wasn't going over as well as I would have liked. So I figured, maybe having her run alongside them will help. Maybe that'll make this whole thing work. And then it came to the first combat, and we're rolling and stuff. I made the rookie mistake of rolling the enemy attacks against her and then her attacks against them, which of course is boring for the fucking players, because why does the GM need to roll against himself? I can just decide these things. But I was in the mindset of, I want to experiment with these new classes, which was part of my mistake. Well, it just so happened that the ooze that we were fighting got a really good hit on her and started to consume her. And my friend Mike's character was right there, and, she's starting to get sucked in, and, she's reaching out for, his help, and his response was to laugh and say, wait, the NPC who can't talk? The fuck do I care about helping her for? Nah, fuck it. Let her die. Let's just keep hacking that thing to pieces. If she lives, she lives. If she doesn't, who fucking cares? And that right there is when I realized I fucked up. I really fucked up. Not only did the players not like this character and not really even care about her, but when I asked them after the session, what were your thoughts on Tala? How did you feel about her? They came clean to me and said, you know what, dude, honestly, we just didn't like her. We just didn't like her. It's just not interesting to interact with a character that can't even talk to you, And it was it shouldn't have been. It wasn't really so much a revelatory moment for me. It didn't bring a new revelation to me. I knew that you have to build your NPCs in a way that are going to connect with the players. But it did click in my head that I'd fucked up because I put my focus in Tala in the wrong place. Instead of developing her to be a more interesting character that could interact with the party in a way that would feel more meaningful, I got too focused on the gimmick and too focused on really playing with a new toy that I should have been saving for an opportunity I had later on the line as a player, or should have been saving to use as an adversary for the group, rather than shoehorning it in as an NPC ally that just didn't work. And I should have had the foresight at the time, or really the will, to just decide, no, we're going to leave her aside. We're not going to send her with them. We're going to push her into the background where she belongs and let the players interact with the ones they really wanted to interact with. Because the other characters I had were more interesting, and they liked them a lot more. And so that is why Tala the Mute is the first and most minor of these 3 times I fucked up as a GM. The NPC character that was tried to be forced on the party, just so I could have the chance to play a gimmick that really doesn't work. And that's all I've got for you today for this video, friends and gamers of all stripes. What are your thoughts on this situation? Share them with me in the comments down below. Make sure while you're down there to open up the description box to follow me on my social media presences. Minds.com in particular is the best place to follow me, as I will be uploading all of my videos over there as well, so you will get full and complete backups shared there too. Lastly, while you're down there, please follow the Webtoons link to read Phoenix Rising. We are nearing the end of March, and that means the final part of our 3-part special opening up Chapter 3, a lot of threes, is going to be going up very soon. And it is definitely the best part of this 3-parter. So this is a great time to get in and start reading Phoenix Rising. We post monthly, so it is very easy to keep up and catch up. Please give it a look. I guarantee you will probably find something in there to like. And with that, now said and done, once again, friends and gamers of all stripes, I would like to remind you that in this world of tabletop games, you do not want to just sit back and watch, but get in there and game. Have a good one.